Welcome guys to another Pure Knowledge video, and we are looking at the 2024 Human and Social Biology paper. Yes, you've heard right. We're looking at the 2024 Human and Social Biology paper. So guys, let's go. So the first question says, Justin is an amateur boxer. His trainer advises him that in order to increase his energy levels, he should consume a diet that contains more complex carbohydrates such as sweet potato and cassava, which are rich in starch. Name the test that Justin should use to determine the presence of starch in his diet and state the color of the precipitate form if starch is present. Now, of course, we use iodine solution, right? And the color should be blue, black. All right, so easy 2 marks, guys. Next one, identify 2 foods that are rich in starch other than sweet potato and cassava. So that's pretty simple. We have yam, rice. If you had said flour, edu, in some Caribbean country, edu is considered to be dasheen in Jamaica, right? I don't know if the other Caribbean countries know dasheen, right? Pasta, bread. So any one of those two would have been accepted. All right, another easy 2 marks. Right, let's go to the other question. State 2 of the following food Justin should consume for growth and repair of his muscle tissues. Right, so they have to choose from chicken, plantain, tomato, and lentil peas. No, it can't be plantain and tomato because protein is what we need to repair our muscle tissue. So it has to be the 2 protein source, which is chicken and lentil peas. All right. Next, we have a table that shows the number of children in hundreds, right, who suffer from nutritional deficiency disease in 2 countries, country X and country Y. Right, and we can see the title here, deficiency, nutritional deficiency disease, right, and all of them are listed here. So on a grid, provide in figure 1 and page 7, draw a bar graph to represent the data shown. So guys, a bar graph, we went ahead and just did a little bar graph to get to show you how it should look. All right, so just give me a little time for it to pop up. Here we go, guys. So of course, you should have your title, right? And this is representing each of the diseases. The diseases should be on your x-axis, and you should properly label your x-axis and label your y-axis. But we didn't label our y-axis here in the interest of time, but you should label your y-axis, right? Stating that this is the number. It says in hundreds, right? And we're talking about hundreds. We're actually multiplying by 100. So it is whatever the number is times 2 zeros. You're adding 2 zeros on the number, right? So to correctly identify the diseases, all right? So your graph should look something like this, guys. All right, so back to the paper. All right. So this should be adding 2 zeros, because it says in hundreds. All right. So from your graph, identify the country which had the higher incidence of both marasmus and kwashiorkor. It has to be country X. We can see there 65 and 70 for country X, versus 55 and 45 of country Y. From your graph, identify the country which had the lower incidence of disease overall. And just by looking at it, but to be sure, you could use your calculators, but country Y had less disease than country X. We can say country Y had less each time, except for rickets, right? So they would be the ones that would be least. State the minor micronutrients that is lacking in the diets of the children in country X and the major micronutrients. So the major micronutrients, right, that is lacking in the diets of children in country X, and the major micronutrients. Right, so we can see country X, right, has more, because it says micro, so I was actually misread that. Right, it's micro and not macro, right? So I actually misread that in doing this paper. So now I saw it, so I look back and just correct it, right? So night blindness, it says micro, so we're talking about vitamins and minerals. So night blindness in country X is lower than rickets. So that means that the major micronutrients that's lacking would be vitamin A, right? That would be vitamin A, and country Y, we have more rickets than night blindness. So it's going to be vitamin D. So yes, that would be the answer for that. All right, moving on. Right. So just one disease that could develop as a result of overeating. There are many: heart disease, stroke, diabetes, right? And cancers, right? Osteoarthritis can be one as well. So there are many diseases, just one of these would be fine. All right. All living organisms share common characteristics. Complete table 2 by inserting the characteristic of life that correspond with each definition. So the ability of an organism to detect and react to a stimulus, it's actually irritability. If you wrote sensitivity, you would have gotten that point. The removal of waste products produced by metabolism from the body, that's with excretion. The release of energy from food substance to do work in the body, respiration, guys, and then the removal of undigested waste products from the body would be egestion. So again, guys, 4 easy marks there, right? So if you got that, clap yourself. All right, let's go. So now figure 2 shows 4 main types of tissue found in the human body, labeled A to D, right? And we see the tissues here. It says, using the letter labels only, identify the type of tissue that is responsible for movement, and the other one that is responsible for protection of body surfaces. So this, guys, would be the muscle cell. So the muscle cells will be responsible for movement. So the muscle tissue would be movement. And this is a nerve cell, so that means this is what we call epithelial cells, and epithelial cells line the surfaces of organs in the body, right? Or they're also in plants, but in the body. So protection for body surfaces would be the epithelial cells, which would be A. All right. Next, says Seema is a footballer who noticed that she's tired, that she tires easily, even after very short practice session. She researched the possible causes of her fatigue and discovered some interesting facts about certain cell organelles. So identify the cell organelles in Seema's body, which may not be working adequately and therefore causing her fatigue. So of course, she's fatigued, that means she's lacking energy, and the powerhouse of the cell is the mitochondria, guys. So if you got that, well done. State the process that occur in the cell organelle identified in C1, which would be the mitochondria, that would be respiration. So if you got that, well done, guys. Let's dig in, all right? Next question, write in words an equation that describes the process in C2. And that is aerobic respiration, guys. Aerobic respiration takes place in your mitochondria. So the equation would be glucose and oxygen, right? So glucose plus oxygen, right? Because glucose and oxygen are byproducts of photosynthesis. So that's what the plants give us, right? So the plants would, the raw product of photosynthesis would be carbon dioxide plus water, right? And the byproducts would be glucose and oxygen, right? And we as animals use that glucose and oxygen now, right, over enzymes in mitochondria. And as a byproduct, we give carbon dioxide and water plus oxygen. So we, right, use the oxygen. Sorry, not oxygen. My bad. Why am I saying oxygen? Energy. Energy. Yes, I was doing this pretty fast, so I made an error there. Energy. All right. So it is glucose plus oxygen over enzymes in mitochondria, and that gives carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. So the body would use energy, right? And then it will give a byproduct of carbon dioxide and water, which is used by the plants, right? So that's how, this is the equation with one, guys. If you got that, brilliantly done. All right. Next question. Seema decides to visit the doctor to be tested to determine the cause of her fatigue. The doctor indicates that her fatigue is not caused by a malfunction in cell organelle, but is the result of a mineral deficiency in her diet, right? Suggest the disease that Seema is likely suffering from and state what is occurring in her body as a result of the disease, right? So it's not a cell organelle malfunctioning. So it's not the mitochondria. It's actually a mineral deficiency. And what mineral deficiency disease leads to tiredness, right? So it would be anemia, right? And the mineral deficiency would be iron, right? So lack of iron would result in anemia, right? And then they say to state what is occurring in her body as a result of the disease. So as a result of lacking in iron, she would have, Seema would have anemia. And anemia is a reduced number of red blood cells in the blood, which will result in lack of oxygen in Seema's body. And we know that low oxygen equals low energy. Because remember, sickle cell anemia is when, well, we don't have to go into that, right? But it's when the blood red blood cells aren't biconcave anymore, so they can't carry that much oxygen. So yes, anemia results in sickle cell anemia. All right. So reduced number of red blood cells in the blood. All right. Moving on. Identify. So the human body consists of several organs and organ system. Identify one organ in the body which belongs to two different organ systems. I state the name of the two organ systems. All right, guys. So this one was a thinking question, all right, but it's pretty simple. So if you had liver, right, your liver plays a role in digestion because it emulsifies fat, right? And your liver also play a role in your endocrine system, all right? So the liver plays a role, right? So guys, the liver in the endocrine system, right, would be hormones, right? So the liver produce different hormones, right? The pancreas also plays a role in digestive system because the pancreas would have the pancreatic juice, which involve your pancreatic amylase, your trypsin, right? Your maltose, your pancreatic amylase, etc. Right? And the pancreas would also, right, produce insulin. All right? So the pancreas would produce. Okay, guys, so insulin would be important to maintain your blood sugar level. The bone marrow is another one. The bone marrow is a part of the skeletal system and it's a part of your immune system, right? It's a part of your immune system because that is where white blood cells are made. All right, guys, so any one of these pairings and you'll be fine. All right, let's go. define the term health according to the World Health Organization and then according to your textbook, guys. The World Health Organization, which is WHO, defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity, right? So it's not basically health doesn't have to do with just sickness. It's about your mental state and your social well-being. All right. Identify by circling 2 diseases listed below, which are classified as non-communicable disease. I remember non-communicable, guys, are disease that cannot be, right? I hope you're getting it, cannot be transferred, right? From one person to another. So malaria can be transferred, chlamydia can be transferred, flu can be transferred. But non-communicable disease are about lifestyle choices. So answer would be cervical cancer and hypertension. All right, easy marks there, guys. Easy marks. Let's go. There are concerns about the increasing global incidence of the viral disease monkeypox. Typically infected persons will experience the following signs and symptoms of fever, headache, muscle ache, chills, and rash. From the list above, identify one sign and one symptom experienced by a person who is suffering from monkeypox. So what's the difference between sign and symptom, really? So a sign is something that is observed by an external force, like the doctor. So the doctor can see these signs. So therefore, what the doctor can see from this list would be, well, he could feel the fever, right? Because he could feel the temperature rising, right? And he could observe that. And he could see the rash, right? Those are 2 examples, right? But the symptoms is what you, the patient, are feeling that he cannot see, that the doctor, he or she cannot see, right? Or what other people cannot see, right? But you are feeling, so you're feeling chills, you're feeling cold. Nobody can see you feeling cold, right? You have a headache, nobody can see that you're having an headache, right? You can have a headache without nobody knowing, right? So that would be a symptom. Those 2 would be symptoms, all right, guys? So if you got that, well done. Let's move, guys. Explain 2 ways in which COVID-19 pandemic has impacted society and economy of the Caribbean. And guys, we are very familiar with this one because we have just went through a COVID crisis, right? So we know that economy-wise, purchasing a vaccine and building extra facilities to quarantine affected persons can affect the country's economy, can affect the government pouring a lot of money into that health sector aspect, right? It impairs the tourism sector, right? Because you have a lot of travel restriction, you have border closing, people can't travel as freely as they can. Hotels and restaurants and businesses are forced to be closed if one person have COVID there. Therefore, it leads to the employees being laid off. So that also is economic to the country and personally, right, to the people. Then you have unemployment and income, which can go back to the tourism sector and in general, right? People losing their jobs, moving work from home, right? Most people would have a computer. Some people, sorry, wouldn't have a computer, right? So therefore they couldn't carry their jobs effectively. That will lead to loss of job. Also, some companies couldn't afford to stay open with the lack of customers they're getting. So right, they couldn't work remotely, so they have to close down. For the society, of course, all the lockdown measures can affect you mentally, right? Restriction and movement disrupt your daily life, right? Education has to move online. Not everyone has the internet, everyone have resources to access information. Social interactions like partying, just hanging out with friends, mental challenges I stated before. So you get a little bit stressed, you get depressed, right? So all of those things would affect the society. All right. Next, the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, is transmitted primarily through sexual contact or body fluids. I explained 2 ways in which individuals may reduce the risk of contracting HIV. So The one that should jump out to you guys is condom using during sexual intercourse. That's very common, right? They use sterile needles and cutting instrument, right? Making sure that they are clean. Test for blood prior to transfusion. So if you're getting a blood donor from a person, if somebody's donating blood to you, make sure you test that blood before you take it into your body. And public education, just telling people how they can contract the disease, they will know how to better prepare themselves and what to do to prevent getting the disease, guys. So any one of these two ways, you would be good. Next, state why antibodies cannot use to treat HIV infection. Very important, guys. Remember that antibiotics, my bad. So why antibiotics cannot be used to treat HIV? So antibiotics are designed to treat bacteria. They're designed to target and kill bacteria. Very important to know that HIV infection, right, is effective against, is not effective. So HIV is a virus, right? So HIV is a virus, right? So therefore, antibiotics would not affect a virus. So yes, I got a little bit tongue-tied there. All right, so it's late, but I want to satisfy your curiosity, guys. So let's go. So if you guys had made that point, you would have been correct, right? So stating that HIV is a virus and antibiotics only is designed to target and kill bacteria, you will be fine, guys. One more for that. All right, next we have the heart, right? And we are asked to identify the structure of the heart labeled A and the region of the heart labeled B. So A is at the top here, and this is where the blood is forced from the ventricle, right? The right ventricle. Is it the right ventricle? Yes, it's the right ventricle, right? And forced up. So it's with the pulmonary artery, because this will take the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Then now region B, right? Just here would be the pulmonary vein. So the region here would be the left atrium, right? And then now that would get your 2 marks, guys. Then it says, describe the function of the structure of the heart label C. And in my opinion, guys, this would be the semilunar valve. And this prevents backflow of blood into the ventricle when they relax. All right, so you wouldn't have to say semilunar valve. I just put it there for your knowledge. You just have to say prevent backflow of blood into the ventricle when they relax, or something that's saying the same thing there, guys. So if you guys got that, brilliant. You're on your way, right? State the region of the heart in which the pacemaker is located. And again, guys, it's in your right atrium. So the pacemaker is in your right atrium. What's the function of the pacemaker? Is basically to generate impulses, guys. To generate electrical impulses to travel through your heart, causing it to contract. All right? You don't have to put 75 times per minute, but that's just there to educate you guys, because this video is educating you. All right, not only about the mistakes you would have made or where you have gone right, but also to learn something extra. All right, to have that pure knowledge. All right, guys, let's go. So certain countries in the Caribbean have a very high incidence of coronary heart disease. Discuss one name factor that contributes to the development of coronary heart disease. All right, so 1, hypertension, very common. So hypertension, high blood pressure can damage the inner lining of the arteries, making them more susceptible to the building up of plaque. It also increases the workload of the heart. So if you something anywhere along that line, you will be fine. Next one, you have unhealthy diet, right? So unhealthy diet could have high fat, right? Or what we call bad fat, or bad protein, which is low density lipoprotein, right? So it's actually bad. They have good protein and bad protein in essence. So bad protein Low density lipoprotein, good protein is high density lipoprotein, right? So it's really bad protein or bad cholesterol. But normally bad cholesterol would have been more accepted. So bad cholesterol and good cholesterol. Low density lipoprotein, bad cholesterol that contributes to the formation of plaque in the arteries, right? Smoking, right? So when they smoke tobacco, marijuana, cigarette, tobacco is just here as an example. So all of these will contain harmful substances or chemicals that can damage the lining, right, of the lungs. Or, well, in this case, the blood vessel, my bad, right? So it will damage the lining of the blood vessel because we are dealing with the heart, right? So the lining of the blood vessel increase inflammation, promote blood clot formation, and contribute to the progression of arteriosclerosis. All right. So tobacco, marijuana, cigarette, vaping, all of them would have specific chemical that would contribute to the damage of the lining of the blood vessel, right? Right? So you can write endothelial, right? Remember we're talking about, how harmful these things can get in our life yesterday. All right. So this is good. All right. So if you got any one of these guys, you would be getting your marks. Of course, there's more that can contribute. Obesity can contribute as well. And there are many more that can also play a part in a coronary heart disease, right? Explain why the walls of the ventricle of the heart may become thicker as a result of coronary heart disease, right? So the narrowing or blockage of the artery increase the resistance to blood flow. So therefore, the heart is going to create pressure, right? Because of the arteries, they are getting narrow. They are not wide anymore. They are constricted. So therefore, it's going to create pressure, overload on the ventricle, right? So this pressure that the ventricle is feeling is going to adapt by increasing its muscle mass and wall thickness. All right. So the ventricle is basically adapting to the pressure that the fat or the blockage cause. All right. So that's why the ventricles are thicker, because the ventricles are responsible for pushing that blood. All right. So they would have to adapt adapt to the pressure, right? And then they would build more muscle mass and wall thickness. All right. So that will give you 2 marks. So just 3 approach that could be used by government, right, to reduce the incidence of coronary heart diseases. So we have health education campaign, of course. So you can educate, the causes, the effect of the disease, and how you can prevent it, right? Of course, you can pass laws, of course, and laws will be against, alcohol consumption, right? Smoking consumption, all right? So laws is a very good one also, right? And, we can think about it, right? The lifestyle, the food, right? They can promote healthy food, right? Promote healthy food, right? So promote healthy eating habits. All right. So those are 3 ways, and there are a lot more, guys, you can think about. All right. There are a lot more you can think about, And we can also think about free health. How about free health? All right, because free health would allow access to health care. So people with the disease can get treated better. All right. So those are all the reasons, guys. Next. We have state two sources of water pollution. Of course, we have agricultural, right? Runoff. So that's basically the fertilizer, the chemical, right, running off into the water. We have plant nutrients, right? And plant nutrients basically going into the water, seeping into the water, right? And that's how algae are forming the water, right? So the algae will be feeding off the plant nutrients. We have oil spill, we have improper waste disposal, and there are a lot more, guys. There are a lot more that can pollute water, right? So there's no one or two steady answer there. Next, we have figure 4 show a diagram of aquatic ecosystem. Identify the process that results in algal bloom in figure 4. And we can see algal bloom here, and that is eutrophication, right? And that is basically what we were talking about here with plant nutrients. So when plant nutrients goes in the water, right? Eutrophication is when the algae are formed to eat these nutrients, and then they therefore, you know, feed off it, and they would replicate, and they will basically, and then after a while, the whole of the water will be green. All right. Next, explain how the process identified in B1 results in the death of fish in figure 4. So what happens here, guys, is that the algae, basically they will die. And when they die, basically decomposers in the water will want to eat them. But what happens is that the decomposers are aerobic bacteria, right? And they multiply quickly. And so what happened, because they're aerobic, they use oxygen. So they use up all the oxygen in the water, and because of this, the fish doesn't have any oxygen to go and live off. So then the fish will die and suffocate. All right, I will suffocate and die. All right. So that's basically explaining that, guys. I hope this one probably was a tricky one. All right, so I hope you guys dig in, right? If you didn't, you will learn now and get it for paper 2. Paper 1, sorry. All right, so next one. Table 3 shows the percentage of pollutants in the air for a city and a rural region. So you can see carbon monoxide 60, rural region 25, sulfur dioxide 15, rural 4, solid particles 8, percentage 1. It says outline 2 reasons why the percentage of carbon monoxide is much higher in the city than in rural region, right? So then we have, you know, industrial activities, right? You know, there are more factories in the city than in rural region, right? There are more vehicle emissions, right? More vehicle emissions. So you'll have to explain a bit more, guys, because it's 4 marks. So 1 and explain. So that's the explanation. So vehicle emission, you know, that combustion, smoke emitting from vehicle, and therefore CO2 is released in the air. Emissions from cooking, right? Remember that there are a lot of restaurants in town and everybody cooking. So therefore, there will be a lot of CO2 released in the atmosphere. Sorry, not CO2, CO, because CO is carbon monoxide, CO2 is carbon dioxide. My apologies. All right. So yes, industrial activities, vehicle emission from cooking. All right. Moving on, explain why the percentage of carbon monoxide is so much higher than the percentage of other pollutants in rural regions. So we're talking about here, they're saying why is carbon monoxide high in rural region than sulfur and solid particles like dust. All right, why? Because of agricultural practices. We are in the rural region, so we are thinking that they are doing agriculture, right? And agriculture can generate a lot of carbon monoxide, right? This includes activities such as operation of diesel power machinery like tractors, harvesters, right? The use of gas powered pumps for irrigation, right? The burning of crop residue, right? So all of that, guys, slash and burn, right? All of that is emission of carbon monoxide. right? In rural areas, people often use biomass, right? Biomass like coal, right? To cook, wood to cook, right? So those are two reasons I could think of. If you guys can think of more reasons, please to share them in the comments. All right. Recommend 3 ways in which the high levels of pollution in the city can be reduced. All right, guys. And remember, we're talking about air pollution, as this is talking about air pollution. So stick with what it's talking about. It's saying, recommend 3 ways in which high level of pollution in the city can be reduced. So I assume we're talking about this city here. So we say that reduce the use of fossil fuels by using alternative energy, either solar or wind energy, right? Pass laws with strict penalties that limit the release of air pollutants by industry. For example, like Clean Air Act, clean gaseous emissions from factory before releasing them into the atmosphere, right? Put public education programs in place, guys. Oftentimes, education is very important in these instances, right? Also, you could equip motor vehicles with pollution control devices and modify engines to make them more fuel efficient. All right. So if you had any one of these 3, you will be fine, guys. All right. And you can also think of anything else that could also reduce. Once you can justify it, it's fine. All right. Next, it says name one excretory product of each of the following organ, right? So lung is CO2, right? A little bit of water, but CO2 mostly. So we take CO2. Skin, we know sweat, guys. Kidney has a lot. It has water, which is obvious. It also has amino acid, which is basic form of protein, and urea, which makes up the yellow part of your urine. So urine is made up of 95% water and 5% urea, guys. All right? So let's go. State which blood vessel carries blood to the kidney. All right? So I don't know if this one got to you guys. All right? But renal. So all the organs have prefixes. So renal, pulmonary is down by the heart, right? Hepatic, right? Down by the liver, right? And renal refers to the kidney. So it's a renal artery. So if you guys would have known the word or the prefix for the heart organs, you'd have gotten that right, all right? Even if you hadn't known. All right, next one. B2, identify the structures in the kidney which ultrafiltration and reabsorption take place. Now, ultrafiltration is in the Bowman's capsule, because remember, the blood is pushed to the glomerulus, and the glomerulus then forces that blood into the Bowman's capsule, and the Bowman's capsule is where the filtration of amino acid, urea, glucose, and other nutrients take place. The Bowman capsule is where the blood is filtered. Then reabsorption takes place in most of the nephron, so the proximal or diastole convoluted tubules would be accepted. Answers either or would be fine. All right. Next, Manuel and Sonia went to investigate the components of their urine. Each of them collect a urine sample and perform a Buret test and a Benedict test on the individual sample. Table 4 shows Manuel and Sonia's observations. So here we see Manuel, no color change for Buret. And what Buret tests for? Buret tests for protein. And he has red for Benedict. And remember, Benedict tests for reducing sugar. Right? Sonia has a pinkish color. Right? It's not. Right? It is not. How would I want to say this now? It is not. Okay, it is not purple, it's pinkish. So that means, based on my knowledge, pinkish would mean it has peptides. right? And not really the whole protein, but it has peptides, all right? And blue would mean that it's not purple. So that would mean that, so blue for Benedict is not red. So red is a positive for reducing sugar, or orange red. So blue mean that Sonia don't have much reducing sugar. She has no reducing sugar, or little reducing sugar, or no, I would say no reducing sugar, all right, in her test. So based on that, I could say that Manuel has no protein present because there was no color change in his urine, right? But high reducing sugar, making him prone to diabetes. Because this question says, state the conclusion that can be drawn from the test and suggest the disease which Manuel and Sonia are at risk. So possibility, because there's a high reducing sugar, he could have prone to diabetes. Sonia has a peptide present in her blood, meaning she's prone to heart disease, because then you want to think about protein. So too much protein, could give you heart disease, right? It could lead to cancer, right? So those are, a lot of things protein, too much protein can result in over time. So any one of those would be fine. She has a low reducing sugar in her blood. All right. So something like that, you'll get your full 6 marks. All right. Next, it says Santo is badly injured at work and quickly experienced several severe blood loss. He arrives at the emergency room with low blood pressure. Explain how Santo's body will respond in order to increase his blood pressure. So obviously, Santo's heart will beat faster, all right, resulting in an increase in the heart rate. So this will improve the cardiac output, right, meaning the output of blood, right? So this would compensate or make up for the reduced blood volume based on the blood that is lost. So this will make up and build it back up, so that the body can get back to normal, right? So in essence, the heart will beat faster to put out more blood, right? And therefore, it is looking to make up back the blood for the blood that is lost. So it's compensate for reduced blood volume and maintain adequate blood flow to tissues. And that's the end, guys. I think this one, apart from about 1 or 2 questions, I think this one was a good one. All right. So please, in your comments below, tell me how you feel about this one, guys. Ask your questions. I was trying to go through it a little bit fast. I made a few errors here and there, but didn't want this video to be too long. So let me know, guys, how you feel about this one. And join us again. Stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, guys, because we have a lot of lives coming up and we have a lot of things in store for you guys to get that one in exam, guys. So I'll see you next time. All right. So get that knowledge in here at Pure Knowledge. All right. Peace out. Have a blessed one.